The Simpsons. What a great TV show. But with the Simpsons games, some were good, but many were very bad. Am I right? Or am I wrong? Today, I'm gonna make up a list of games that are well worth your time, that you probably didn't even know existed. True. Do you trust me? Do you believe me? Well, let's find out. Hello and welcome to the greatest Simpsons video games that you may not have known about. But I'm going to let you know about them right now. Maybe some of them you actually did. Maybe some of them you probably didn't. Let's find out together as I work my way through this list from the very top and work my way down to the last one on here, which I guarantee you people will be very surprised about and probably didn't know it did exist at one point in time, because it no longer does, unless you got it at the time when it was available to buy. But for now, let's just start at number 1. The Simpsons House of Weirdness, released all the way back in 1991 on the MS-DOS, the Microsoft Disk Operating System. And if you don't know what that is, well, it's because you're not as old as I am. That's why. You start off in Bart's room, and it's one of my favourite gaming hubs of all time. I really love this because it just feels like you're in the Simpsons universe. And if you poke around the room, you're going to find lots of little hidden objects that you know from the show. You can even play off the toys if you want to. But hey, whatever pulls your string. You know what I mean? The whole object of the game is to find Krusty and to unlock him from the cage that the evil Sideshow Bob has encased him in. The old revenge story, sitting right there as you can see it play right out in front of you. But before you can get to Krusty, you have to beat 6 levels before that, from classic locations from The Simpsons. Well, from that time period at least. You have the attic, which is a very familiar setting from past episodes. Yes, everything seems to be in order here. Let's move on now and go down to the basement to find early characters also from the early days of the show, because this game is from the early days of the show. And if you go into the cupboard across the room, you have the posters that lead you to the Space Mutants and Itchy and Scratchy.
Alright, let's go for it, man!
Where you play through a level that looks like the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon. But just be careful, it's chaos in here. And then the last 2 levels are out this window, which takes you outside and into the streets of Springfield, where you gotta pick up money and find secret coins to get some tickets to see the latest Space Mutants movie. Oh, look at that computer generated imagery with that surround sound blaster sound. And then you can also go up to the top of the treehouse to find your way down to the toxic waste area, where you gotta jump over the drums to find Maggie's ball, like it says at the top of the screen, which is where your level objective is. Here you go, Maggie. This game was made in 1991, and I gotta say, the references are pretty good for the early days of The Simpsons. Because think about it, the show hadn't been out for too long at this point, yet they got a few good sight gags from the show itself, even though it's still early in its run. The objective to the game is to beat the 6 levels, which give you what's called cool items within those levels. Those cool items then help you out in other parts of the game. For example, this cool hat that now shows up down here in the item box, but doesn't show up on screen for some reason, will make you invincible to the lasers that these robots are shooting at you, so that you can shoot the Space Mutants and follow on through all the way down to the spaceship, and then get the cookbook. Yeah, remember that episode? I sure do. Oh, be careful what you say, they're onto me! And then once you get all the items, Bart's room turns into a portal to another dimension as you go out what was through the window before into the Radical Zone. Unfortunately, this game does get hard, especially in this last level. And it's not so much the level itself that's hard, it's how laggy the controls can be, because there's so much stuff going on sometimes, it does slow down a little bit, especially with all these logs that just keep coming down and down and down. My reactions aren't what they used to be. You were saying? I guess my inner child is still in with me to help me get through this game. Who could argue with that? But before you get to Sideshow Bob himself, you have to collect the ammo to be able to beat him in the first place. And it has to be this specific ammo from this level that they give you. Otherwise, nothing else will damage him. And my advice, you better use every one that you get, because you're gonna need them all to be able to knock him out to the ground. So you can get to the next screen and then open up Krusty's cage and let him out free. so he can pat you on the shoulder and say, "Good job, kid." Yeah, Sideshow Bob's not too impressed as you get the last cool item to hang on that purple brick wall. Yeah, enter your name and don't expect too much else to happen, so don't give your hopes up. But that's okay, that's how it was back then, and the challenge of beating this game was celebratory enough for me. See, do you trust me now? I told you that I've got some decent games on here but you may not have known about. Maybe you did, but this one, I don't know about that one. Anyway, enough of me, you don't hear about me. Let's go on to the next one. Let's roll the next one. Number 2. So, the next game on my list is a little bit of a scary one. Help the Simpsons survive the night of the living Treehouse of Horror, which is the name of the game. Alright, it's time to press start. Get over the top? Yeah, that's how I do it though. That's how I go. The object of the game is to go through each separate level that have different themes, as each one is based on a Treehouse of Horror episode. Well, most of them. Because, what's this one from? Ah, but Nightmare Cafeteria. I recognise this one. It's gone from the big screen that we watched to the little screen of the Game Boy Color that we can now play. But don't get spooked out just yet, because there's over 7 levels to go through. And we start off in my favourite Treehouse of Horror episode ever, Bad Dream House, where the Simpsons house's power has been mysteriously cut off by the bad guys is my guess. As you go through each room you will find they have no lighting, because you can't see anything without the fuses being inside the fuse box. So you have to go through and search for the fuses to put back in the fuse box to light up the house once again. And on top of that, you have to find keys to get into certain doors that are locked from the keys that you don't have, that you gotta find. To find more fuses to light up the rest of the house. Which leads you to fighting a mop boss. Mop boss. Yes, I said that right. Yeah. Basically, every Simpson gets a level for each part of the game. Of course, Homer gets quite a few of his own, which is fine by me because, let's face it, he is actually the most popular character. With Bart, of course, being a close second. And then you get to Marge's level, where it's a top-down shooter, and to be honest, it's probably the hardest level in the game. The biggest downfall, of course, is the Game Boy Color screen is so small and jam-packed with so much content in it that you can't fit it all in. And they really did try to, but I really do wish they just spaced it out a little bit, because you need more room to move, especially when you get to the end of the level when you fight Krusty, which is the hardest boss in the game. But please be patient, because you will be able to beat him if you do go through it enough times. And unfortunately, when you do die, you go way back to the start, and that's so frustratingly annoying. But despite all this, it actually is a pretty decent game to play through, despite its minor flaws. And I will say that the game ends very well with King Homer, one of the classic episodes from the Treehouse of Horror, where it's a homerage to Rampage, where you go through destroying buildings and tanks and anything that gets in your way, just like the old days. And then you get to the last part of the level, which is the last part of the game, where you climb up the building and you work out the patterns to hit the planes just like your King Kong, but your king-sized Homer, as he brings it home strong.
I'm king of the world!
Whoop. Okay, well, now on to the next one. But first, did you know that there was a Simpsons game? Yes, of course you did, we all know that. But did you know that the Nintendo DS version was completely different to the rest of them? In fact, it wasn't even 3D. It was on a 2D plane.
You're going down!
Well, the levels were themed the same.
Wonder what my moves are. Jumping, floating. Man, I gotta try this.
And I'll tell you something, this is one of the best 2D Simpsons games I've ever played. And again, you may have known about this game already, but I didn't know about it, so if I didn't know about it, maybe you didn't know about it either. And if you did, well, you know that it's well worth the play, so I don't have to tell you any more than I already have today. So let's move on, okay?
Wipe it out!
Because there's still plenty more to play.
More of them? But I thought I was done!
Oh no, Homer, there's plenty more to come. Next time on The Simpsons Hidden Gems. There's more to talk about, because there's more to talk about. Now, I can't say too much about it right now, but let's just say that it's well worth your time, because believe me when I say It's a good one.
Oh boy.
Bye.
Oh, I'm gonna get sued for that one.